welcome to Detroit in Black and White. This is our Saturday edition, live from the Historical Guardian Building. Joining us today, Adolph Mongo, Jim Nardone. Hello, Jim.
Good morning.
Allan Lengel, co-founder, Deadline Detroit.
Good morning.
Good morning. And Derek Henry.
Good morning.
Good morning, Derek.
Good morning.
And good morning, everyone. Vanessa is at the Mac Alive Parade. We'll hear about that on Wednesday. Okay, start with you, Jim. Your outrage of the week. Or whatever you want to talk about.
I really don't have an outrage. I guess I'm outraged that this young lady lost her life at Henry Ford Hospital yesterday. And it's how many people are we going to continue to lose? We have to do something about it. Now, this is the challenge with personal protection orders. Your attorney's not going to show up to protect you, and that judge is not going to show up to protect you. You're going to have to work with the local police agency, and they're overwhelmed. So, unfortunately, we're losing people that we should not be losing.
Well, some people say, what's the young lady, Miss Green, should have had a pistol. You know, the only way to deal with that, obviously, this guy, ex-husband, stalked her and harassed her and terrorized her for almost 10 years. When do this shit stop? And the system failed this woman. You know, she did everything somebody's supposed to do. You go to the police, you swear out complaints, you do what you got to do, short of being a vigilante and taking matters into your own hands.
Well, I have a question for Jim. You had experience, obviously. I mean, if somebody's determined to kill somebody who's willing to, obviously, look, this guy's either going to kill himself or he's going to prison for the rest of his life. And he's willing to, he's just so crazy willing to do that. What is a personal, if she has a protective order, it's like, he's like, so what?
Yeah. It's just like I said last night, it's like every law that's on the books. The laws are made for honest people. Honest people put on their seatbelt. Honest people, when they've had one too many drinks, call an Uber. But people that don't care about the law are going to continue to behave that way. And it's tragic. This has been going on for years, and it's tragic. And I guess the witness protection program, I'm not trying to be funny. There is no way she can get away from this guy other than leaving town, going to another state.
Other than taking justice into their own hands and do what he did to her.
Please remember, James Craig got beat up when he said the Detroit Police Department cannot protect you. You might need to consider getting a firearm. And what he said, I completely understand what he said. There's 3,000 cops and 700,000 people. They can't be everywhere all the time. This was predictable. Unfortunately, it was predictable, and it's tragic.
Yeah, unfortunately, they caught him, and the only punishment he gets is he's going to be locked up for the rest of his life. But he already that's his MO.
He's a coward. He's absolutely a coward.
Well, he's a coward. Now he's done for his life. For people to be that impulsive or just have that kind of level of anger that they're willing to sacrifice their freedom and take somebody's life plus sacrifice their freedom, there's something there. I mean, it's a sociopathic behavior that somebody doesn't even think of the consequence. I mean, it was obviously premeditated. He went to the hospital who knows? Maybe they got an argument. Maybe he didn't plan on killing her, but whatever. He had a gun.
He took a gun with him.
He took a gun with him.
He took a gun with him. He was prepared to shoot.
Right.
And I'm surprised he didn't hurt anybody else.
Good morning to Jill Sheridan, our friend, our longtime friend, and Deborah Harris, also our good friend. Good morning to you. Thank God they got him. Thanks, Deborah.
Well, Allan, you're outraged at it.
There's so many out there. The one thing I found it interesting, cannot pronounce her first name, Ghislaine Maxwell, whatever, Jeffrey Epstein's, partner in crime. They're releasing. I mean, it's just this whole grifter thing going on now. They're releasing her the transcription of her interview with the Deputy Attorney General, and she's saying, I never knew Donald Trump. I saw nothing but a gentleman, which we've seen Donald Trump in public forever. I've never seen him be a gentleman. He's been, he cheated on all three of his wives. He slept with a porn star. He was basically convicted in civil court of sexual assault. To say that he was a gentleman it's just part of this. It's part of this flim flam thing. She's going to get something out of it. I would not be shocked if, as he's leaving office, he gives her a full part, or at least gives her commutation. And it's just, and she's saying I didn't do anything wrong or whatever. I mean, she's known as a liar. But
she's a pimp.
Yeah,
she's a fucking pimp.
Yeah.
She's been pimping for a long time, and I'm not surprised because she wants to get out. I'll say Donald Trump was a gentleman too. If I thought he was going to give me the key to the jail cell.
Right. Well, now she's in a much nicer. She's in a minimum security prison, which somebody with her conviction and her sentencing is not supposed to be in that. So, what did they get out of it? It's not like, there's a statute of limitations already passed. It's like, usually you say, okay, yeah, you're going to turn in Sammy the Bull, John Gotti. All right, we can do this for you. We can do that for you. But what is she giving? It's all about Trump. There's no benefit at this point to them really debriefing her on whatever. He went down there. The Deputy Attorney General went down there to try to cover up. And so, I don't know.
Can we go back when you get a sec? When you're done, Adolph, I'd like to talk about a couple of little issues.
Go back. Talk about the issues right now.
First, Terry McCrimmon just made a point. I guess Henry Ford Hospital security needs to start checking backpacks now. That may be true. Mr. Duckett made a comment last night, and we missed him, and he was talking about the responsibility of Henry Ford in this incident. And I believe MR 1213, Mr. 1213. Does Henry Ford hospital have armed security? I believe they do have armed security.
They do.
And I know there's rules. I thought there were, at least in an emergency room, there are metal detectors. So
yes.
He apparently had an idea how to defeat the system or go around the system. His wife worked there for some years, and it sounds like he kind of had an idea how to get in there without by bypassing security.
But I go to Henry Ford all the time. I had my surgery there and stuff. You just walk through the front door. There's not when you go to the ER, when I originally went to the ER, you have to go through a metal detector and they check everything, including, patients who are coming in. But you walk, there's so much traffic coming in and out. It's a huge hospital. It's a huge complex. You just walk right in. And I am kind of surprised how, I like it. You walk in, you don't have to get hassled. You just go right. They have an information desk. You don't even have to check in there. You can just go right to the elevator if you know where you're going. So, look, this country has been lax. If you go to places like Israel, you go to a mall, you have to go through security. You go to a movie theater, you go wherever you go to the train station, you go through metal detectors. Here, we've I thought after September 11th, maybe we would crack down more, but we don't want to do that. And the schools, the Detroit schools, and I know in DC, I used to go help with the school papers in DC. They had metal detectors there. But, Oxford did not have a metal detector. A lot of suburban schools.
They used to make fun of Detroit schools for having metal detectors. and you know you need them. Unfortunately, you need them everywhere because we keep seeing these uh, these killings or whatever you want to call it at these schools. Now,
It's not that hard to go through. You know, I mean, I remember when they were opening. I think it was called the MCI Center at the time in Washington D.C. The new hockey and basketball arena there, and it was the opening night, and Bill Clinton was showing up for a basketball game, and they had metal detectors up there, and this was like probably 97, 98, and I thought, oh my God, how are they going to process all these people? But you go to Comerica Park now, you've got to go through a metal detector. I mean, it can be done. It's a hassle.
well,
Airports.
but it's necessary. It's just like you still can get on a plane without showing an ID, and then people start hijacking the planes.
Right.
You know, we didn't have workplace violence until somebody went into the post office in Royal Oak and shot up all their co-workers.
Yep. Good morning, Iris. Thanks for tuning in today. Deborah, what happened to the 15-year-old boy found dead in the graveyard?
They got somebody of interest that they picked up. Somebody, you know, just killed a young man and left him in the graveyard. That's unfortunate.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you, Joe Cool. Good morning to you. And Hillary Clinton is kowtowing to Trump on purpose. Karen Winston, glad to see you on this morning, Karen. Thank you. Timothy Bay, good morning, gentlemen. It should not be so hard to get a CCW. Even former felons should be allowed to protect themselves. In fact, there's been a court order that said I think felons can now get a C. In Michigan, it's called a CPL. Carrying a concealed weapon is what he's referring to.
I have, you know, somebody was saying kowtowing to Trump. I mean, it's interesting. People are trying to interpret Duggan last Saturday. It was funny. I was driving in the car and I just happened to turn on CNN on Sirius Radio, and Duggan was coming on the Squirmish show. I can't remember his name, but anyways, it was a podcast, and Duggan was talking about crime, and he said, you know, we want to thank, you know, I mean, you know, part of our fight against crime has been great. He goes, Trump appointed our you know, U.S. Attorney Jerome Gorgon, who's done great in helping us with guns and stuff like that. So a lot of people started interpreting that, oh, Trump's got, I mean, Duggan sort of throwing it out there. I mean, it's an interim U.S. attorney. He's been a career U.S. attorney. Trump, I'm sure, had no idea who he is. I mean, Trump doesn't get involved at that level unless there's something crazy going on, like Jeanine Pirro, the U.S. attorney in D.C. But Trump, you know, Duggan made sure that he thanked Trump. And so some people are saying, oh, he's trying to appeal to the MAGA.
Yeah, well, we know what Duggan is trying to appeal to, and that goes into what my outrage is. Democratic Party, what is it? Curtis Hertel is the chair of the Michigan Democratic Party. They're going to punish Democrats who support Duggan,
right,
and not withholding voters' information, etc. Support. I think it's a bad move on the part of the party. It's already split, and it's going to be even worse.
Yeah.
So Timothy Bay said, "Don't blame Henry Ford. Blame the murderer." Mr. Green is calling him, I believe. People make fun of DMC Hospital for the metal detectors, but they had a shooting. You know, we talked about Grady Memorial. A lot of these big city hospitals, a lot of cities, not just big city hospitals. As I said last night, everything ends up at the hospital. Every shooting, every stabbing, every violent car crash, drunk drivers, everything goes to the hospital. So they need to be protected. And what do LA, DC, Chicago, and New York have in common? Terry McCrimmon. They all have black mayors. The National Guard will be coming to New York and Chicago. We're fortunate enough to have a metropolitan Washington.
I still don't see.
Come on in just a minute.
Yeah,
But Washington is different than everywhere else. So
They won't be in New York or Chicago. They talking plenty shit. You know, how many cops in New York, Jim? 35 grand?
There's many thousand, 30,000.
Yeah. Listen, all these folks, all of a sudden, we're going to send the troops in. What are we going to take all our troops? We're going to start sending in federal troops? Because you don't have enough National Guard around the country.
I think Allan could explain to our viewers what the unique perspective of Washington, why it's different than everywhere else in the country.
Well, unfortunately, Washington D.C. is a city, but it's also Congress has a lot of oversight over D.C. and there's a Home Rule Act that was passed by Congress, which gives Congress a lot of power over D.C. They, when I first got there in '97. They had a control board. They took away all the powers from Marion Barry, the mayor, much like the emergency manager. They took over and they gave Marion Barry, in the end, the only thing he had jurisdiction over was the recreation department. And so basically Trump has taken advantage of the laws and decided that he's basically taking over the city, which, the whole thing is DC has been pushing for statehood. They have 700,000 people or more in a city. They have no representation in the Senate. They've got a delegate, Eleanor Holmes Norton, who can only vote in committee. She can't vote in Congress. So they have no representation. A lot of the license plates say, taxation without representation there. But anyways, we're going to bring on my good buddy, Joe Perren, who's a retired DC cop, and one of the great cops in DC, really. I mean, Joe was
let's take a quick break, Allan, then we'll bring back again.
Okay, Joe will be right back in a minute.
No problem.
Homeownership opportunities are rising in the city of Detroit, and there's a house out there that's right for you and your family. You don't even have to worry about credit or getting a loan. You can win a house for as little as $1,000 and pay for the renovation cost as you go. It all starts at buildingdetroit.org and the Detroit Land Bank Authority. Our auction and Own It Now programs offer a variety of houses and neighborhoods all over the city of Detroit. These homes are in desperate need of repair and new ownership. You can begin by going to our interactive map and detailed property listings to find the right fit for you. It won't be easy, and renovation costs are not cheap, but our compliance team is there every step of the way. We will help you track your progress and connect you with local discounts to save you more money. We have already sold more than 15,000 homes in the city of Detroit, and our inventory is shrinking fast, so you don't want to miss out on this wonderful opportunity. Start your home buying journey today by visiting buildingdetroit.org. Homeowners.
Okay, welcome back. So we've got Joe Perren, who is a retired police officer from the Metropolitan Police Department in DC. And I did some ride-alongs with Joe, and I'll just say Joe was a great cop, and he was also very respectful to the citizens of DC as he went about his job. So we're going to talk. Joe, welcome, first of all.
You're welcome. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you. And so we're going to talk about Joe.
Joe, let me say something, Al. I want to piggyback on your thing about. Well, first of all, I'm from Detroit. I was born in Detroit, Michigan. I love Detroit people.
Yeah.
I actually was born in Warren. My dad came to the country in the 50s from Malta, and he grew up in Wyandotte, and then we moved to Warren, Michigan. So I got a big heart for Detroit. And
I got you. And
Michigan.
Did he work at the Rouge plant? Or
General Motors. He was a General Motor auto worker for 30 years. But I want to piggyback on what you said about the metal detectors in hospitals.
Uh-huh.
When there was a shooting in DC, we always sent. They didn't want to even come over to hear on it, but you always sent an officer to the hospital.
Uh-huh.
Not because the guy shot, but you want to make sure that the guy who shot him don't go to the hospital and shoot him. So metal detectors at hospitals are critical when it comes to gunshot victims, because sometimes the bad guy would go to the hospital and make sure it's done. So go ahead.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
So anyway, there's a lot going on in DC. I mean, the whole country's sort of focused on Trump is sending the National Guard. They've sent in some FBI agents. So what's your thoughts, first of all, on that whole thing? Is that a good thing, or do you feel like?
Well, I'm going to say it's a good thing, but Al, you helped me when 9/11 came. I was activated. I was in the Navy Reserves. It's going to cost a lot of money. Do I think? Hey, look, we haven't had a homicide, I think, in a week. What's the price to pay for somebody not getting riddled by bullets? Do I think the National Guard are going to be there? No. I mean, those guys need to go home, back to their jobs. But they're doing good right now. It's just I don't know what the cost is going to cost on it. I like them in the subways. I like them patrolling the subways. Now they're thinking about arming them. You better know about shoot, don't shoot. We don't need another riot. You know what I'm saying? So they're doing a great job. I think this week we haven't had a killing in DC, and that's, I mean, my God, that's great news.
How many are there normally in DC?
We are the murder capital of the world. I mean, usually, they don't even, it doesn't even make the news. That's the problem. I would say once a week, twice a week, you got a homicide,
How about shootings though? There's probably shootings almost every day.
Shootings every night. But yeah, it's been quiet. It's been quiet. And I told you about the rules of engagement has changed. That's the big thing to talk about.
Explain that.
All right. So I was Metropolitan Police Officer. In I think about 84, 85, there was a fatality on a car chase. And I remember it was Chief Fullwood's niece. She was like 6 months pregnant, got killed because of a car chase. Well, they got rid of the car chase scenario. You can only chase somebody if it's almost like shoot, don't shoot scenario. So now the federal agents are chasing again. I don't know if DC police are authorized yet, but I know the federal agents are going there. And the problem with that is as soon as we stop no chase policy, the bad guys were selling drugs, carjackings are up because they would carjack a car, then do the crime. So I want to say the MPD is doing a great job, but some of these restraints that were put on them needs to be reviewed.
You're saying the no chase. So do you have concerns?
So federal officers are now chasing. Like I'll give you an example. I was a school resource in MLK and Martin Luther King Avenue, and they were telling me to go ahead and enforce parking. Because these people are picking up their kids. I'm like, okay. So I go there and enforce parking, but then I see a guy on a dirt bike, doing wheelies in front of me for eight, 9, times going back and forth. And I'm like, I'm not going to give this lady a ticket when I can't stop this guy. And at the Capitol, you have guys dirt bikes every weekend. And it's stopped now, but they were doing wheelies in front of the United States Capitol. None tagged. You couldn't chase. So they brought the chase policy. They're letting the federal agents chase. And I think that's a big impact on how we fight crime.
How much are you concerned about them not being trained properly to patrol?
Well, it's big, Al. I mean, you got a reserve. And now, like I said, I was a reserve. But I was an MA, Master at Arms in the Navy. It's like military police. I don't know if they're military police or not. Are they trained to shoot, don't shoot scenarios? It's going to be tough. I don't like arming them. We usually use the National Guard for traffic details. But to me, I consider them like orange hats. You know what an orange hat is?
Oh, good.
When we had community people walking the beat, we'd have them like community beats. We would walk with the neighborhood people. And they would, and that's what they're there for. As the police, no, not at all. It's too much.
You're absolutely right. I was in the Marine Corps Reserve, and if you're gonna put some of the people that I serve with out on the street to fight crime, we are lost right there. I'm telling you, when people say bring in the National Guard, the average person in the National Guard is a hard-working stiff that got to take care of his family 7 days a week, and now you put him in a situation. He's supposed to be a crime fighter.
Yeah, well, it's gonna cost. It's gonna cost them a lot because that's not that operation. You know, they got to pay these guard members, and no, what they need to do is DC Police Department. I think it's like 500 officers down, or maybe 900. You know, and putting that money where
500 more.
Yeah.
Take that money and hire more cops instead of you're talking about.
Well, that's it. So, also too in DC, we have called a use of force. So if we lock somebody up and let's say the guy's running, he get into shooting, he can get domestic violence. We put him down on the ground. As soon as he hits that ground, that's a use of force investigation. That started with Chief Ramsey. I thought they would end that, and we're not under Justice Department review anymore. But it's still going on. Every time we have somebody on the ground, a 7-page investigation for a lieutenant. And that's crazy. So
And
right now, the federal officers don't have to worry about that. You know, so
the FBI
things need to be reviewed.
The FBI also has some
What's that?
I said the FBI has some agents.
Yeah, I mean,
who were MPD previously, who were on the police force and now are agents, and they're out there patrolling as well. How do you think that is working?
My nephew is one.
And what does he say?
It's good in the fact that I don't need them patrolling. Yeah, I don't need federal agents patrolling like a footbeat. That's for police officers. It only started 30 days ago. I like to see the federal agents like the ATF and the FBI actually, working with task force people and going after the narcotics. And we're talking about crimes and other crime statistics. Crime statistics doesn't look at narcotics. They don't flag that as a crime. I don't know how, but that's the way they do it. But I don't need a FBI agent, walking a beat with a police officer. I need him investigating, doing RICO crimes, but it's going to take a while. So.
And have you been in the city since all this has been happening?
It's quiet. It's quiet. I mean, it's it's all over. I mean, like I said, what is the cost for not having somebody get riddled by bullets? I mean, yeah, they're doing it. Are they going to sustain it? If they're going to sustain it, how much money are they going to put in it? Chief Ramsey, Chief Lanier, Chief Conti, Chief Newsham, they all said, it's not, we lock up a lot of people, but they get the courts, let go. So you'll have an average guy getting locked up 16 times. That's not a, police department problem. That's a Justice Department problem. So,
right.
I know our union, I just think that it's given a leeway for the MPD officers. They need a break. I mean, between the protesting, the overtime, and all this other stuff that they do, it's nice to see federal agents actually, coming in. To me, the Capitol should be for everybody, not just the city, the police. I know you just said that, they're, and I have a house. Yeah, I have a house in the city. I'm a city owner, but DC should be for everybody, and that's when people come to visit. Al, I mean, you came to visit me. You saw what Union Station looked like, right?
Right. One last question, Joe.
20. Yeah.
One last question. USA Today, a friend of mine actually wrote the story saying that a lot of the presence, the added presence, is not in the neighborhoods like Anacostia where you used to patrol.
Yeah, of course. That's where they need to be. I absolutely agree. They need to be in Southeast DC. But that's what I'm trying to tell you. The FBI, DEA, it's going to take more than just 2 weeks. They got to start doing operations there. And they should be doing investigative narcotics investigations, But right now, they're just saturating the entire area, which is good. I mean, but it's going to be a cost on it, Right now, it's been pretty quiet. nobody's going out there. They're not using cars anymore because they know the federal agents are going to chase them. So,
And what do you say about Detroit for Detroiters? Is that should there be a pushback if Trump tried to do what they're doing in D.C., or should they be saying, "Hey, yeah, we want help, but not that way"?
well, yeah, Al, how many people need to die? That's the problem. I've never 31 years being a policeman. I never got used to a poor woman coming out on the middle of the street, seeing her dead kid, because somehow somebody always contacted a mom. And when you see a mom laying over the sidewalk, and I just had that before I retired, right on, in the city, and nobody was there next door. Some did, I don't care. You got to decide, hey, man, are we going to accept? I don't like the stats. We should not accept any person getting shot.
Right.
I don't want to hear if it's a good thing, that we're down 20 homicides. No, one homicide is too many. So, but I'm thinking it's not the Detroit policeman. I don't know much about Detroit politics, as is when you do lock somebody up, what happens to them? Now, I'm not saying jail's the best thing to do, but some people need to be locked up, and some people are animals. And when you kill somebody and you shoot somebody, what the hell? That's somebody's kid. That's somebody's mom. That's somebody's dad. That's somebody's child. I know. So what's the price to pay? Yeah, I think we should invest in strong police stuff. And I don't know if federalization is the right way, but
well, I don't think the feds it's going to be up to the people in this city. And,
yeah, I mean, to me, if the feds come into Detroit, they need to start doing RICO.
If DC down 800 cops, put the money in it and hire 800 police officers.
Well, I agree with you, but they have to also look at the what the restraints were that the city council did for these. Like a juvenile in D.C., I think it's 24 and under. 24 and under, you're treating a 24-year-old as a juvenile, but he can.
Not a juvenile.
Yeah, well, that's how the city is, and they won't release. We have a lot of restrictions. So I think, like you said, sir, it depends on the jurisdiction. It depends on their laws and how they engage. And I think you'll have now. Right now, like I said, in D.C., they've just saturated everything. It is working, but how can you do that?
And how long is it going to last?
How long is going to last? How long is it going to last? And like you said, Al, are they in Southeast DC? No, they're not. They're at the National Mall. They're in the subways. So they need to, I think one council member.
They're protecting the tourists and some of the workers. Well, we're going to move on. Allan, go ahead.
All right. Well, Joe, thanks so much. Have a great Saturday. We appreciate you coming on, man.
All right. I love Detroit. Tell you right now again. And God bless everybody. Take care.
All right, Joe. Thanks so much. Appreciate that. Okay. All right.
You know what? Before we get to Roy, our next guest, Roy McCalister, former homicide cop, candidate for city council. I guess everybody do feel good, Allan. If I'm a tourist in DC and I see the military, so that's a pat on the back. But what about the people that live in the hood?
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, there was an article saying, Anacostia is across the river where, it's a higher crime area. There's nothing happening. I mean, you go up in the Northeast, like Benning Road, all those areas there. I mean, there's some serious crime there. You really want to make an impact. All you see on TV, the guardsmen are congregating on the mall where all the, all the tourists are and stuff like that. I mean, it's nice. They're on the subways, at least, parts of the subway probably that have been safe anyways, that there's nothing happening on those parts of the subway. But their tourists are going on there, and it's like, could something happen? Yeah, but I mean, the price, it's like China, you know. Could we take away all people's rights and we could listen to everything they say and stuff like that? Yeah, we're going to have less crime, but there's a balance between having, you know, your rights and you know, and fighting crime. And yeah, so there's no homicides right now, but they can't sustain that of having, you know, whatever over probably now.
You can't stop. You can't stop. Just what happened yesterday at Henry Ford. You can't police that unless
you have metal detectors there. I mean,
yes.
he couldn't have got in with the metal detector, hopefully, but
Well, he was determined. Well, we got a former city council member and a former police officer, homicide, Roy McCalister, who's running again to regain his seat. What do you think of all the hoopla of troops coming into these cities and to fight crime?
Well, first and foremost, thank you for allowing me to be here. And I think we have two police officers here, Adolph, former police officers that are here. But, you know, the fact of the matter is, I heard Joe talking about, you know, when I walked in, I think regardless, the question was asked, you know, will you stop it? Will you allow them? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The president has stated that this is going to happen, and it's going to happen. You know, we might have some resistance, just like California has some resistance, and initially Washington had resistance, but it happened. The two concerns that I have with this is the fact that one, really, although they're supposed to be MPs, a number of them, but a number of them are not trained for domestic type issues. They're trained to go in and deal with things. The other thing is also is that your National Guard and your Army Reserves is your backup for your active duty. So if a crisis breaks out, and I mean, we're seeing that's what's going on in Ukraine and Russia and over in Gaza and Palestine, and it's likelihood that China is going to come in. Then what happens if we have to join any of those conflicts? Then we become somewhat lessened, because it takes a good 2 months for you to acclimate and get these guys ready to go over to service. And so we have to look at it, and we have to consider that. And that's one of the things that I've addressed, being an ex-military person myself. You know, the other thing is, and I'm pretty sure we have to look at and consider, a lot of times when you have municipalities, if an officer violates an individual's rights, certain things can go forward as far as having it investigated and come to it. If you're talking about the military, you can't sue the military. So what happens then if we get somebody that gets out of hand with that? Right. So these are the issues that we have to be really concerned about. And then if it gets too much out of hand, do we start a riot? You know, so, you know, does this escalate, or do we de-escalate it? Right. And so, you know, I agree that we have to have a look at crime, because we have the values that are no longer values of people's lives. You know, yesterday's shooting was a prime example. You have an individual who's been on probation, been through the system, and they just didn't care. They know if you go out there, you take somebody's life, there's consequences. Right. Absolutely. You know, but it's just not the value of people's life. We have so many children that are getting shot and killed. It's the values that people have just gotten away from as far as what's going on with life.
Let me ask you, I'm curious, you know, I asked when this first happened, I asked the two mayoral candidates, and I asked Duggan, and, you know, and some of the responses are like, we're doing fine, you know, crime is down. And my answer would be, I don't care if crime is down. We still have plenty of homicides. Yes. Hey, federal government. Yes. Give us 10, 15 agents to put on task forces to go after violent criminals. Give us 10 DEA agents to work on drug cases and violent cases. Give us ATF 10 guys for task forces, but we want your help. We don't want it in that form. So it seems like they should almost be proactive and say, yes, hey, come on, we want your help, but we don't want the Guard. We'll take task forces to join our DPD.
Yes.
But we don't want. But the answer isn't like crime is down. We're doing fine. Crime is crime. I mean, if there's murders happening, if there's, and you can speak to it, and you both can speak to it in terms of the number of criminals. It seems like as a small group, the stick up guys, the guys with guns and stuff like that. It's a small group committing that. If you had task forces going after that, you could even address.
I'd like to, if I could, just briefly address that. And I want to get to some of our comments either now or after the break, because we have a lot of good comments. So here's what happens. There are task force. There's federal task force, which I participated in. There's state police task force, which I participated in. I spent a few years of my life doing these things, but these are directed. They're managed at the federal and state level to give jurisdiction. But I have to tell people something they should understand, but they may not understand, are private citizens. If you're going into Detroit to do an investigation, the point man for that investigation will be a Detroit police officer because he knows the community. I don't think people understand that. So I was part of a DEA task force that we worked out of the airport, but we had 2-3 Detroit guys that were assigned to that. And when we were doing a search warrant in Detroit, the intelligence, all the work was done by the Detroit police officers.
Exactly. And I was part of the violent crimes task force, and we had, agents from the DEA, FBI, Wayne County Sheriff, Detroit Police. We had multiple task forces. So those task forces are there. It's just the fact that we have, I think one of the issues, and this is something that I've been thinking about, is one of the issues back in the day when we had, just like I was talking about, police violence on citizens. Well, now the laws have made it so that these things are even less now because of the laws that are in there. You can't do certain things. You're not supposed to do certain things. So now the laws are kind of like protecting these people, that small group that we're after, because there's only so much you can do to them. And so we have to look at, and we have to consider, where do we go from that? And again, when we bring in our federal army, which is federal, you can't sue them. And if they get out of hand, then what happens? So, but then you have that small group, and you have, I'm telling you, I truly believe, I don't know how these defense attorneys are, but I think they're biting at the bits to say, okay, we're waiting for the first incident to happen so we can jump in and say, violation of constitutional rights or whatever. So these are the things we have to also look at. But on the same token, as Joe stated, one homicide is too many. And we still have shootings, as you stated. Now, we still have, they say crime is down, but when I've been out talking to people, that's their biggest concern is crime.
Right.
Collective task force are the answer. Yes. Can you talk? You could talk about more and more about, and Allan's right on. Yeah. It's these task force that are directed, I guess, for lack of a better term, by a federal agency, whether it's the FBI or the DEA or a state task force. We had all these narcotics task force that give you jurisdiction. So, if you're following a guy from Wyandotte, where Joe's from, and you're going out to Milford, you have the jurisdiction to follow up on that, right?
Plus the fact too is the resources. You're using federal resources, a lot of resources that a lot of municipalities or even the state might not have, the federal do have. So those resources are there also.
So as a city council person and as a former and a former police officer, you'd probably support more of these types of task force instead of a takeover per se of a National Guard unit or an FBI team coming in here to try and police the city.
Yeah, a lot of our locals do it. The people that are familiar with the area, because of the fact too is we also talking about community policing.
When they gonna stand up, Roy? Where the locals? Obviously, and I see why. I see why you running to get to represent your district, because I think that some of our elected officials have failed as residents in their responsibility to deal with this crisis, because we do have a crisis right now in the city. Let's take a break, and we come back and we'll talk about your vision for Detroit when we get back.
And some comments too, Adolph, if we could.
Nearly 30,000 vacant lots all over the city of Detroit are for sale right now. That's right, nearly 30,000 vacant lots are available now, starting at just $100. The lot next to your house or the lot down the street. Make it yours today in just a few simple clicks. Find out if it is available by visiting buildingdetroit.org. At the Detroit Land Bank Authority, side lots are just $100 and neighborhood lots sell for $250. You can apply and pay online today by visiting buildingdetroit.org. And if you don't see the lot you're looking for, call our offices. Our phone number is 313-974-6869. Again, that is 313-974-6869.
Well, we're back. Hey, Jim, why don't you read some, before we get to Roy, why don't you read some of our comments from our viewers?
Contributors, thank you for all your comments. MZ Suzuki, what is the next task force meeting? So these are all collective little groups of law enforcement that usually operate a little bit behind the scenes. And we can talk more about that at another time, but they're all individual task force, might have 20 or 10 or 15 people in it. Some are bigger, some are smaller. On purpose, it's true that Mr. Duckett, Mr. Duckett's out there today. Thank you. We're sorry we missed you last night. We didn't forget you. We just missed you. My apologies. Deborah Harris says she believes in more task force. This problem will not be solved with one strategy. MZ Suzuki is saying that's absolutely right. It's a multi-layered problem that requires multiple solutions. Mr. Duckett, this is the comment, I believe. Embrace your rights under the Second Amendment. Protect yourself against gangs or of a fascist state. And Mr. Duckett, we talked a little bit about that and how James Craig got beat up for suggesting that. We need to be more proactive. Children without coping strategies become adults without coping strategies. Criminals reside in high government and corporate places on purpose. I hate to tell you that. I used to say I'd rather deal with the criminals on the street than the criminals across the street. That didn't really play well with some of my city superiors, but it's a joke. Mental illness is a real problem. Iris, thank you. So sad. Save our sons and daughters. That's an organization, but that needs to be our lifestyle. Flood the black community with trillions of dollars, and these social conditions will almost completely disappear. I wish that was a solution on purpose. I'm not sure. I think it's a little more complex than that. The police state needs to be significantly reduced and not accelerated on purpose. You don't know much at Deborah. As Ben Franklin was said, those who would give up the freedom for security deserve neither. Terry McCrimmon. And Deborah Harris says she's not mad at Mayor Duggan. She likes him. Mass murders are on steroids in by U.S. forces around the world. It costs us more lives not to do anything. That's true, Deborah. It's unbelievable the cost of losing people's lives, and the families that lose those lives. Cynthia Burnett agrees with Allan. Right, Allan? That's a little while ago. Sorry, Cynthia. Policing and arresting people without dealing with the roots of crime is humane. It's not a solution. Eastside Detroit, Red. M. Suzuki. Are they hiding the real reduction in DC killings to make Trump look good? We know his administration is always shamelessly inflating his ego. Cynthia Burnett. Ramsey was a fat joke. Willis, I'm not going to go there. Lewis. Hiring for law enforcement is down nationwide for qualified people who want to be in law enforcement. Janet Overall, Sherrod, thank you, Janet. We appreciate you looking in today. Singly blaming poor, powerless youth for our country's decline is typical of the mindset of mostly white supremacists on purpose. You're right on target there. It's not the kids' fault. It's where it originated, and it didn't originate with these kids. They didn't show up on a street corner at 14 years old with a Glock or an AR-15. It's the process. Terry, National Guard people have regular jobs. Yeah, we understand what the National Guard is, Terry. I'm not sure if everybody does.
And they can't be they're not police officers and they can't patrol. I wouldn't bet on the National Guard to do jack shit. And
Willis says it's a Sherman soft criminal justice system, and Willis, that's part of the problem for sure. The leaders of the bad guys are high government and corporate officials on purpose. Our old friend Kenneth Reed, thank you, Kenneth. Sorry it took us a while. Good morning to you. Don't believe the hype. And Sam talked about his parents being from Malta.
Jim, let Roy talk about his vision for city council and his re-election campaign.
Well, one of the things that I have to agree with, I believe it's Margaret that said we have a serious mental health issue, because a lot of this, when you look at our young people, it is the atmosphere that they're surrounded in. If they have been continuously engaged with violence and trauma in their own lives, well, that's something they have to know. So we have to have a wraparound programs that's not only looking at the outside, but the home life as well. And we have to look at that. The mental health, again, it is an issue that we have. And that's with our young people. I mean, if they feel that they're not a part of something or engaged, then they feel left out. Disinvestment in a lot of our communities and areas. One of the things that I understand is we have to look at the trauma-informed care, which is a psychology thing that we have to look at as what is going on with the individuals that are out here committing these crimes. And let's start doing some crime prevention or preventative measures to put this in. These are the things I look forward to bringing to the council table when getting back there, because it is going to get out of hand. Another concern is Mayor Duggan has had, I think it's like 3 or 4 different community active groups that are there. When the dollars dry up, what happens to the community active groups? Do they still be involved because they care, or are they just there just for the money? Some of the individuals I know personally will still be out there, but those dollars are going to be dried up. Right. So we have to start looking at other avenues. Earlier there, people were talking about defund the police. Not defund the police, but let's take some of those responsibilities off of them. I mean, this police, you're a social worker, you're a counselor, you're a law enforcement. I mean, you wore so many hats. And I'm pretty sure that everybody can look at that. So we have to look at what measures does it take as far as addressing our communities. And those are the issues. I mean, like I said, what happened at Henry Ford? I mean, it's known, but it's not known. Who knows? And like you said, well, if you try to get in with a metal detector, well, you remember the guy that went in and he was walking and had an AR-15 and he was going for the NFL and he walked in.
Right.
So, I mean, if they're determined, they're determined.
Right. Yeah, you walk in with a AR-15, you shoot the security guard and walk right through the metal detector. Absolutely. I have a question. Mm-hmm. Being a resident now for quite a while, there's things that concern me about the council, about some of the nepotism that goes on. We have one council member whose mother is his chief of staff. We had a council member a while ago, Gabe Leland, who was under indictment, and he sat. I mean, I thought the appropriate thing would have been to put him on administrative leave and he was voting on contracts while he was under indictment for bribery. How do we raise the level where it just seems like the same old? What are you going to do when you come in to sort of try to raise the expectations of the council?
One of the things that I actually brought out at council table regarding Member Leland making contracts and voting on contracts, and I think his girlfriend was part of a contract that was towing, right? Yeah. And I said he should excuse himself, from this. And why is he on there? And some of the members stated that I shouldn't have said that. But when I speak for the people. This is what the people are saying. And that's who we represent. We represent the people.
Right.
So, but you have to look at the Charter Commission. They're the ones that rewrite the charter,
Yeah.
and they can put that in the charter that, nepotism. I mean, I always say you want someone there, of course, that that supports you and have your back.
Right.
You can understand that. But when you have people that are being paid and that are not there, or people that are being paid, you have multiple family members in your, on there, then you have to start looking at, okay, well, where do we stop this at?
Right.
And I think that's something that not only the Charter Commission, when they write the charter, but I think it's something that the Ethics Board has also.
What don't we have a ethics board?
Yes, we do.
What do they do?
Yes, we do.
What do they do? We got a city council member that got 2 or 3 of their family members sitting up there. It reminds me of former mayor in Chicago, Eugene Sawyer, when he became mayor after Harold Washington died. They found out that he had relatives. They was making over $2 million a year from the city of Chicago because they padded the payrolls with cousins, friends, or whatever. When do this shit end?
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly correct. I mean, you have people that out here, I mean, they're paying taxes and they want to know where their tax dollars is going. So when you have a person like that has multiple, or you have somebody that's being paid that's not even there on the position, the taxpayers questions that. And so these are the things, again, your Charter Commission and your Board of Ethics should be looking into. But for whatever reason, it has not been. And I have brought this up on several times, several occasions with both entities, but it has not come. But I look forward to having something done when we get back on council.
How do people get in contact with you if they want to work on your campaign or contribute money to you?
I want to give them my personal number, which is area code 313-434-4806, 313-434-4806. Also 697-9200, 697-9200, and 697-2434. 697-2434. www.McCalister, that's McCalister.com.
What district? What district
is
District
2. That is
tell us what that encompasses.
District 2 encompasses from 8 Mile to Davidson, Southfield to Woodward.
Wow. And
the zip codes are always, because people can relate to their zip codes as opposed to that. Zip codes are 48203, 48221, 48227, 48235, and 48238.
Wow.
And
you got a good memory.
Yeah, the precincts that we have are precincts 2, 12, 10, and 8. So those are the precincts that we cover. Also, it's partial because some of those precincts cover other districts, but those are the main ones.
Okay, Roy, we're gonna have you back, man.
I'd love to be back, and I thank you so much for allowing me to be in.
And no question, Roy McCalister, city council, former city council member who's fighting to get his seat back. Good luck with that.
Thank you so very much.
Jim, your final thought?
My final thought is thank you, Dorian, Crystal, Kenneth, Deborah, Terry, MZ, Suzuki, and Ronald Hinkle. Good morning to you. If we missed you today, it's not because we don't appreciate you. We appreciate you. This show belongs to you. And for those that see the show later when we're not here, we want to say thank you to those people too.
Allan?
I'm just going to say Tigers won again last night. One of life's great distractions, sports.
We got to get those Lions to win today.
Yeah. Well, I listened. I watched a little bit on TV last week, and then I listened to it on the radio, and I had to turn it off because there were like 5 penalties in a row.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a mess.
Yeah.
Well, and I want to thank everybody for watching and our guests today. And once again, Roy, thanks. You got a standing invitation anytime. We'll be back next Wednesday at 8:30 in the in the evening. This is Detroit in Black and White. Have a good weekend.